How do we rebuild trust after some dishonest behavior? How do we as parents trust again? You can start that one. I'll finish it.
Okay, how do we as parents trust again? Slowly, but you get there. And people are people, and they're human, and they're gonna screw up, and our friends screw up, and our families screw up, and our kids will definitely screw up. Try not to judge them too harshly. They're already walking around with a lot of shame and pain and addiction and their own guilt. But give yourself some grace to get there. You will. And you get there by working your own program and sticking with people that can hold you up. And again, I think I've said this earlier, don't spend a lot of time talking to people that don't know what you're going through. It just doesn't serve you well. People in these rooms, they know what you're going through. It may not be, just because my kid wasn't the star of Cornerstone and didn't walk in and embrace it, I still got a lot out of it. And I will tell you this, that in the era that I was here, even today, the people that were my friends, they still, and this is 10 years removed at least, they still talk about the fact that the years that they were in Cornerstone were the best years that they had. The friends that they made, the husbands, the wives. I mean, it was almost like they didn't know what to do after they left Cornerstone because we had so many functions, and parents, husbands, wives got along so well because they became united. And so there is trust after dishonesty. You just take it slow and you don't force it, and trust your gut.
I got a little bit different perspective. How do you rebuild trust after dishonest behavior? When you're at an AA meeting with them and they're picking up their 5-year chip, that's when you should start trusting again. Okay? Until then, you're naive. You're out of your mind. You're naive. That trust is about you, and you want to feel better, and kumbaya and all that stuff. All right, like you are out of your mind. One of the reasons Tammy is here today is because I'm just going to share. She called me up a couple weeks ago, and some clients we worked with in the Woodlands group 7-8 years ago. We had 2 clients die in within a week. Totally different. One self-inflicted gunshot wound. Another one was accidental overdose. Accidental overdoses, or accidental drug overdoses in the United States in 2020 was 93,000 people, okay? That number is staggering, all right? So it's like, so when should you start trust? When they're picking up their 5-year chip. Because according to the Betty Ford Hazelton Foundation, the #1 resource on alcoholism in the world, that is what early recovery is 1 year, from day 1 to 5 years. Anything short of that doesn't mean you can't love them, be nice to them, right, etc. But when you start playing nice, wanting to get back to normal, not taking it seriously, all right, okay, like we're just here to give suggestions and to tell you what we've seen work in the past and what we see. The other thing with all these deaths, besides them being utterly tragic, every single one of them was preventable. Every single one of them was preventable. And the 2 most important factors, and they're starting to become a third, but the 2 most important factors in long-term recovery is 1, the family system changes. That's number 1. And number 2 is access to a positive peer group. All right? Those 2 things are in play for the whole time. You got really good chances. It's not right medication. It's not, having the special therapist, whatever. Okay? It's not the moving on, being on the merry-go-round of residential treatment centers. Moving from one halfway house to another treatment center, which is what most of these guys did. It's those 2 things. The third thing that is starting to creep in there, and it kind of is, it's part of the peer group thing, is the crap on social media. You know, that's becoming such a huge part of their acceptance and identity as well. And then how to use you got anything you want to add to that? Okay.
I have one thing.
Go ahead. I'm getting on the soapbox now, guys.
No,
Better
I'm just
look
gonna
out.
say,
We're getting warmed up.
I'm just going to say one sentence because it pissed me off so much for all these kids to die, you know, in the end. But understand this, hear this. One thing that you can do, the most important thing that you can do is be involved. Parental involvement in this program is giant, and it's the best case scenario that your kid has. And even still, it might not work, but it's the best chance your kid has. Take that seriously, for real.
The thing that
I'm going to say something
go
too.
ahead.
Mental illness is real. It is real as fuck. And if your child is also addicted to a drug, which came first? Their choice to self-medicate or their addiction? I'm very, very strong in learning just about as much about addiction, but you have to understand mental illness, and you cannot disqualify or step away from depression and think that, oh, they'll get through it. Sometimes they will. Most of the time, they will. Most of you in this room, your child is acting out, they're abusing, maybe overusing drugs, alcohol, and most of them, they're probably going to be okay. They're going to go on and they're going to graduate and they're going to do what you want them to do and they're going to have kids and they're going to live their life. Some of them aren't. Some of them are going to struggle daily with waking up, holding a job, getting sober, and learning how to live what we think is a normal life. If you have a gut instinct that that is your child, pay attention. Get yourself aware and make sure you know what the signs of potential suicide are.
I mean, the other thing about death, like, when Brenda knew me, I was like super duper into skydiving, spent years and years skydiving. And, the thing about being in the skydiving community and hanging out at local drop zones is like, you knew somebody was going to die. Like that's like part of the thing. Like you knew somebody was going to die. But everybody would like look around and go, I wonder who that's going to be. That's how it works in recovery too. It's like somebody's kid in this room within 5 years, at least one is going to be dead. Statistically, guaranteed. Like there's 30 years of experience talking to you. And everybody, when they hear that, they go, wow, that's really serious. And then the next thing that goes through their head is they go, well, maybe that's Tammy's kid or Brenda's kid, because we never think it's going to be us. Right? Everybody thinks like that. That's part of survival. That's how everybody thinks. So, and it's just, and again, that like goes to like the denial narrative. We're through it, or we're stable now. We got a year or two of doing good. Man, you're smoking crack thinking like that. Early recovery, day 1 to 5 years of sustained recovery. Most of these guys, when they relapse at 2-3 years sober, you know who they're relapsing with? All the people they met in their treatment centers. It ain't the old friends. It's the dudes they got sober with, right? The too cool for school guys that stopped doing the work. They're on that slow road to relapse. Losers. The whole thing here, and I know we got to wrap it up soon, is so so much of this that I put my energy into today and have over the years, and Brenda and Tammy have put a tremendous amount of energy into this, is trying to create communities, small communities, where positive stuff is going on, all right? Whether it's softball, wilderness trips, bike rides, Tuesday yoga, whatever. These small positive communities, community. These guys all need access to community. They want to be a part of something. They're going to be a part of something. Doesn't mean it's going to be positive, but they need to have access. We need to be a part of something. Most of us felt very alone prior to walking into these rooms. Access to a community, investment in a community. The more you invest in a community, the likelihood it's going to help your family may not, as she talked about with her son. But it helped others and it helped herself. But it's like that commitment to community is really, really important. The other thing is that losers always assemble in small groups and complain about the coaches and other players. Anywhere, in business, in recovery, anywhere. Losers always do that. They assemble in small groups and they go, Brenda could have done a better job as parent coordinator doing this or that. The program should do this. They always assemble in small groups and complain. Winners assemble as a team. And that's like, I have that hanging in the office. And that is like, those are like words to live by for our staff that we try to practice, because it is. And that's what we're constantly fighting, you know, and not just in the program, but in our culture, right? Like that's everywhere in our culture.